Hey guys, welcome back to Tiny Disneyland. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how I built Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Alice in Wonderland, and also showcase some of the additional things I added to Fantasyland since the last time I posted. So I did a couple things actually off camera. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started. The first things first is to start building the facade of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So the facade of said attraction is, I think, Toad's Manor from the animated short. What was it from? The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. That was a combined storytelling thing. So I had Ichabod Crane was one story, and then the other one was Mr. Toad's. And so I just copied the one at Disneyland. Now, the attraction at Disneyland was opened in 1955, so that was an opening day attraction. So Mr. Toad's has been around for a while. Mr. Toad's has been through a couple iterations. And yeah, I'm just picked the one that's more proper to me. Find out what the date. Oh yeah, 1983 is when they redid all of Fantasyland. So all of Fantasyland got all the new facades and stuff like that. So that's what I did here. So it's just, I don't know, just the Toad's Manor, which is just a brick looking European building. Kind of just copied it to its perfect, not perfect detail, but detail enough that I was happy with. So, what to tell you about what I'm doing here? So I'm just doing some brickwork, some mason work, and also figuring out some of like my scaling problems, because Fantasyland being one of the more dense lands in Disneyland, it's harder to, well, in Parkitect standards or in grid formation, it is harder to put into that area that I picked. I'm finding out that my pre-planning phases from this project are kind of coming up and biting me in the butt a little bit, but I have to kind of live with it, because at this point I can't transfer this to a new map. There's like, well, there is a way, but it would be very, very tedious and almost impossible to do. It's not impossible, but it would be very, very difficult to do. I could take quadrants of my map and blueprint them and then transfer over to a bigger map. I'm trying to remember, how big was this map when I started? I think it was like 250 by 250, I think. I think it might have been only that size, or I might have made it a little bit smaller, maybe 150 by 150. I can't quite remember. So I'm trying to be strategic on what I keep and what I delete, or what I don't build. So for like Fantasyland right now is like I got rid of certain buildings and stalls that would be in Fantasyland. That was like in the last video I talked about that. So in this case, I'm trying to figure out where I can fit these rides in. Now it's funny because Fantasyland has, how many dark rides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 dark rides. 3 on one side, 2 on the other. So I knew that the 3 on this side, that would be Peter Pan, Mr. Toad's, and Alice in Wonderland, would be the most dense, most compacted rides. So strategically I had to figure out how to make sure that these rides were, again, small enough in scope, but also not too small that I lose my details that I want to present. So still having that rule set in the beginning of being a toy-like diorama Disneyland helps a lot, but also adds that challenge of like, okay, now I don't have to go realistic, because if I had to do a realistic layout of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, I would have no room, because again, also I think the turns for this dark ride, the car dark ride that's in the game, can't go smaller than one grid space. I know that Coaster Anarchy can do it, but a modless vanilla run, I can't go smaller turns, so they are a 2x2 turn, which is kind of crazy. So I had to use those and kind of, yeah. If I was doing like a legit Disneyland replica in Parkitect, I would be using mods at this point. I would use Transform Anarchy, Construction Anarchy, and Construction Anarchy. I don't know if I will use any like modded props. I could probably build everything out of vanilla, to be honest, because shapes are very powerful once you have already Transform Anarchy installed, right? Regardless, I am doing vanilla run, and I've been doing the vanilla run for the last year now, so You can just kind of see how the manor is kind of just growing into some type of European mansion. It's a lot of brickwork, a lot of gingerbreading with the castle bits. The manor itself has a lot of chimneys on it, which is kind of cool. I did make this taller than it is in real life, because in real life it's not that tall actually, but again, this is also just a diorama. It's kind of just a representation of it, but I think I did a really good job on representing that for a little dark ride of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And also in this build right now, I have to also build at the same time Alice in Wonderland, because Alice in Wonderland and Mr. Toad kind of are like entwined on each other. Alice in Wonderland is built above Mr. Toad's. So the dates would be, so Mr. Toad's opened in July 17th, 1955. Alice in Wonderland didn't open until June 14th, 1958. So at least 3 years later, yes, 55 to 8 is 3 years. So 3 years later, a new dark ride was made. And this is also prior, I want to say, to the big Tomorrowland expansion in 1959, which would have been Matterhorn, Submarine Voyage, and the new Autopia. So we're almost to the point where Disneyland gets that big upgrade. But this was like the first ride that was added, I think, I want to say, since the park opened. I'm on the wiki, so I'm going to look this up because I'm curious. I also should know this because I've brushed up on Disneyland history for a long, long time. So I need to look. I want to say that this was like the newest. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland was like probably the newest ride added to the park since opening. So is there a list of attractions on this wiki? Or do I have to do this by land? Actually, no, I can Google it differently. Hold it. Well, as my time lapse continues, so we are over here watching the construction of Alice. So I chose the gentle monorail ride because the cars were a shape of a snail, and that was the closest thing I had to a caterpillar. And I found that the snail cars could be decorated pretty liberally with like its colors to kind of match those wild colors of the caterpillar. So I kind of went for this dark ride, and it worked out because I like the track kind of reminds me of a bus bar of a normal to typical dark ride. So I went with that. So let's type in Disneyland attraction. Timeline. Yeah, I think that would be it. Let's see. Timeline. Opening dates. Okay, we got Autopia. Those are all the rides that opened at the park on opening day. Oh, so the first... Oh, interesting. Okay, so it looks like Tom Sawyer's Island was made in 1956. I know I have to double check that, because I don't know if that's true. The Canoes, 1956, maybe. Yeah. Shooting Gallery. Oh, cool. Shooting Gallery. Cool. Alrighty then. So yeah, so Alice in Wonderland would be like your legit first dark ride that was added to the park. That makes sense. Cool. So like back in, see, I want to talk about the back in the 50th anniversary of Disneyland's 50th, they decided to do gold, basically. I don't know, how do you describe it? Shoot, I'm losing words here. Color certain rides gold because 50 is the is the gold anniversary. Yeah, so gold anniversary. So they basically painted most of the dark rides in Fantasyland gold except for Alice in Wonderland because it didn't open in 1955. But the teacups did. The teacups were golden. So that was actually really cool. See, yeah, we had a golden pirate ship, a golden Mr. Toad's car. We had a golden... Did we have a golden Snow White? Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, one of the Snow White vehicles was golden. Autopia had a golden car, or a handful of them, because it's more than one lane. Jungle Cruise had a golden boat. It was actually really cool. The carousel had a golden horse. It's like one of those cool things. So, yeah, I should get back to what this... what I'm doing here. I'm doing some door shenanigans. That was quickly using the trigger system. I'll probably explain this in other older videos. But right now, after my little history lesson of Disneyland, The scene I decided to choose for Mr. Toad's was the Hell scene. I think it's the most iconic. It's the one that you mostly remember when you ride the ride, because you basically, you go to the judge says you're guilty, and then you get hit by a train, and then the train brings you down to hell, and I think that just makes sense. I just wanted to make it very simple, using rocks, coloring them dark red, and build a archway that resembles a demon of some sort, because that's where you go through. And then I also proceed to build the dragon that goes with it, that's in the at the end of the ride. And it's so fun because that at the end of the ride they have the heat on, so it's actually very warm in there. And it's kind of like, that's the thing that kind of sticks with you as a kid when you rode it so many times. I would purposely ride the ride in the winter more often because of the heater. I would avoid going on Mr. Toad's during the summer because it was hot. I know they do actually turn it down during the summer a little bit, but it's not as intense as it is in, like, say, in the winter or like normal operating days. But I would purposely not ride the ride during the summer. But it was a fun ride. I mean, I like how, I don't think, let me see here, has the ride changed layout since 1955? No. The scenes have changed because they changed the way how the station outputs now. And ever since adding the facade, added an additional queue. So there's that. So it does depend on the rides. I don't know, what do you want to say? It's interesting because these rides have matured and changed over the years. And I do appreciate that they keep going back to them and at least updating them. I think the ride that needs updating the most at the moment in Fantasyland alone would be Pinocchio's Daring Journey. Probably needs it the most. Because Alice in Wonderland had a upgrade. Oh, I had it up on the wiki. Let me go see if I can pull it up again. Nope, not that. Okay, let's see. Where was it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, here comes the dragon. So the dragon is just a... No, it's just a dragon in hell. That's all it is. That's all I can tell you. Just made of shapes. Used some of the salt pillars for some of the spikes? Not spikes. They're called slagmites. Stalactites, yeah. So I did that. And then, yeah, I just kind of built a dragon. Nothing really too special. Let's see, Alice in Wonderland, they did an update in what year? 1984. No, there was another update. Why is it not telling me this? They had another update in a different time. Oh, 2014. Duh. Okay. So yeah, they did a whole, added some new show scenes, add some new effects to kind of enhance the ride. They did that back in 2014. Then Snow White, Scary Adventure turned into Snow White's Happily Ever After, I think it's called now. So that got an upgrade. Mr. Toad's hasn't really had an upgrade in a while, so that needs it. Peter Pan had some upgrades lately. And then, yeah, Pinocchio needs one. Yeah, Pinocchio needed one yesterday. But I adore all the dark rides because they're a great example of taking a movie, cutting it up, and finding the parts that you like about the movie, and still tell the story correctly, beginning, middle, and end, right? It's a perfect example of that, and I think as a amateur Imagineer, as I say, that is something that you should practice, is build a dark ride, pick a movie or a theme, and you just go from there and just see how well you can execute a dark ride. And I think that's the fun thing about doing stuff with dark rides. Over here is the original ticket booth for Alice in Wonderland, which is just a mushroom where you would actually go get your ticket. I think I've talked about this in the last couple Disneyland videos, that Disneyland used to operate on a ticket system. So every ride was a ticket cost. So you would go, I think, yeah, admission was free. You would walk into the park, but you would buy a ticket book to then go on the rides that you want to do. So I think Alice in Wonderland was I want to say a D or a C ticket. I would have to look it up, and I don't really want to, but I'm guessing it was either between those tickets, because E was your big stuff. So E ticket would be Matterhorn, Space Mountain. What else would be E ticket? Pirates of the Caribbean would be an E ticket, 100%. And your lower tier rides would be like a C or a D. So Alice, the teacups, the carousel, that would all be lower tier. Man, I haven't really just discussed about what I'm doing here again, because I really do love talking about Disneyland history because it's kind of in my veins. But for like quickly, like some of the weird plants that Alice in Wonderland has, I use candy canes and some shapes to kind of have this weird leaf-looking thing. Kind of resembles it to a degree. Kind of not. Kind of just kind of experimenting. And then the leaf that kind of comes out of the, comes out, I just did that all by hand. Kind of stepped in. I made a different layout than it was in real life because, again, it's also a diorama. It's also an imitation of said ride, so I just did that. Then add some more castle battlements on top just to add some more detail and make it less boring, because I always find a square or rectangle building and straight edges boring. So to break up that, I usually add more detailing on straight edges to add some more interest, because I don't like them. I think straight edges are just weird, especially in a game that's all about grid. So the scene I picked for Alice in Wonderland was kind of debating between the Mad Tea Party scene or Tuggly Woods. So Tuggly Woods, I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. So Tugly? I don't know. Tugly. I think it's Tugly. It means dark forest. So it's actually appropriate that it's named that, because it is just a dark forest. So I kind of just did that. So I used the vines from the fantasy pack, added some cylinders, and used some of the tilia bush as the treetops, and then added all the signs with the arrows. That was kind of the gist of it. I didn't want to build the characters because I didn't believe I could do it because of the scale, how small that scene is. Especially I'm on the second level of this show building. I didn't have much space to build. I even lifted up by I think a half a wall piece. I actually did lift it, and the trees are still kind of popping out of the scene. But again, it's also a diorama, so I'm trying to just having liberty with it. That okay, it's just kind of prominent coming out of the cutout. But in real life, it would actually be closed and up against the ceiling. But in this aspect, I want you to see it and kind of see where the ride kind of goes. So you can kind of just see me here, just put some of the signs up. But yeah, oh yeah, I did. I pulled these arrows off of. There was a pinned message on the Discord for the Parkitect that someone found out all these symbols and letters and shapes that could be input into the text system, and so we have that saved. And I just went in there. I'm like, oh look, there's all these arrows. So I just grabbed it and just made a template off to the side and just used that as my arrow template, and then just went to town on adding signs with arrows, just because that's Tuggly. I want to say Tuggly Woods. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. Someone's going to correct me in the comments. That's fine. But Tuggly. Oh, this is going to bother me. But regardless, moving on. Just doing some more signs and stuff. Yeah, this is basically the it of the attraction. I did build a couple attractions off-site. I will show you guys in the tour of what the park looks like at the moment. So let's head over there in a couple seconds. Yeah, like, I don't know, 10 seconds from now. So I'll see you guys over in the tour. I'll explain what else went on and what else I'm thinking to work on. Okay, here we are in Fantasyland, and the new addition to, well, Fantasyland would be Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Alice in Wonderland, and a couple key flat rides. So before I started the project back then, so I started the Mr. Toad's, I actually built the carousel first. You probably saw it in the time lapse a little bit off to the side. I just wanted to get that hammered down, kind of solidified, and I do like the look of said carousel. It's made of a lot of cylinders, I think. Yeah, cylinders and pillars and discs and stuff like that. So I kind of just was playing around with it And it works. It works for me. I think it looks great. So here's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. It looks pretty nice outside here. Looks like at nighttime. Some of the lights. I might have to add some more lights on it actually to give some more dimensions. But here's the hell scene. I did skip in my time lapse some of the triggers I did because as the car drives through, the fires kind of go off in these geyser type of things. Kind of did that. There's the dragon. Kind of put together. And here's Alice in Wonderland, some close-ups. You can see that the snail cars I mentioned before really do look like caterpillars in my opinion, except for the roof part, but they do match the color schemes of each caterpillar that I saw, so that worked out pretty well. The image here, actually I didn't talk about this. This is just a ride poster from, I think, from the ride. Yeah, I just used it as the book cover. And then here's Tulgey Woods. Now I actually found out how to pronounce it. Tulgey. Such a weird name. But Tulgey means dark forest, or... yeah, I think dark forest is what the actual name is, or something like that. So it's, again, a meaning. Which makes sense for what it is in the book, or in the movie. So there he is, the arrows. Got a whole bunch over here. Got some mushrooms. The cookies. I actually used my cookie method again for pebbles in the pathway, because Tulgey Woods is a whole bunch of paths going which way and that, and so Alice gets lost in there. So that was kind of the scene I wanted to represent. I think it looks good from here. And then without Alice in Wonderland, I needed the teacups, so I built that as well. And this was fun to build because the actual ride's actually built a little bit below ground level, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I might as well sink it too. I had this curvature. And that was kind of fun to add, and I added the lanterns on top, and it looks like teacups. Now, the teacups in real life is actually bigger than this dark ride, or bigger than this flat ride. That one has like 5 discs on the main disc. This has 3, and I think each disc has 5 teacups, so yeah, Alice in Wonderland, Mad Tea Party is actually has a huge capacity. This doesn't in the game, it doesn't. But I only work with what I got, so there's the ride. And then over here I built Dumbo the Flying Elephant flat ride, and I used the jumper ride because I think that was the closest one to a it's called a flying carousel. I think that's the technical name. We do have a flying carousel in Parkitect, it's just the plain one. And planes don't look like elephants, so I had to opt in to do a different one. And also, this is quite large. You can tell like it would not actually fit here, and it would actually be off-centered. And the jumper is a 5x5, so I had to make it centered because the castle's already at a single digit. So just trying to make sure that Fantasyland was somewhat symmetrical. But that's the things that as I build this attraction, or as I build this park, I'm finding out some limitations here and there, and I have to remove and agree to certain things that will be representing of Disneyland. So I am finding it quite difficult, but it's a welcoming difficulty. It's a challenge, as I put it, because again, this whole project is a puzzle in itself. Again, being grid-based, being vanilla, I'm going for it. So it is stressful, but it is a good stressful because it helps expand my skill set. So yeah, I built Mr. Toad's, Alice in Wonderland, 3 new attractions, and then I was pre-planning where Casey Jr. and Storybrooke Canal would go. I might have to move the railroad back a little bit to help space that out, but I think it can fit here. It's going to be a little bit off kilt from Dumbo. I could actually, come to think of it, I'm thinking live. Here we go. This could be moved this way. This has to be moved down this way. Yeah. I can keep this here or move it back up into its spot. But this leaves a big blank open space, and I don't like big open space, especially in Parkitect. Guests don't like big open pathways. So I might have to move the teacups further closer to the monorail track. Just because. Yeah. Or I don't. Or... No, I don't do that. I know. No, just keep this as it is. Build a simplified version of Casey Jr. Circus Train. I'm not sure which ride I'm using, but I'll do that. Make a simplified version of the canal boats, and then the station for the Casey Jr. would be right here. And then start working on this over here. So once I get this one solidified, I can work on Snow White and Pinocchio. And at that point, Fantasyland will be done. So I also did some behind the scenes stuff too. I want to show you guys. I was kind of messing around with how Submarine Voyage will look maybe eventually. So I was kind of like figuring out where the show bowling would go, where the monorail will do. The monorail's not finalized either. This layout will change. But the difficult part about Submarine Voyage is it is a tiered system. So you have Submarine Voyage at the bottom, Autopia on top, and then monorail on top of that, plus the People Mover, because that has to be incorporated as well. And I was just kind of exploring over here as well, working on innovations. But I was doing little projects here and there in between my Fantasyland editions. So I think that's everything that I did this couple weeks. Yeah, I'm going to just leave you guys here then, just to show you what's been going on. The park's growing at a steady pace. Tom Sawyer's Island needs to be touched eventually, so does Critter Country. I'll probably do that too. New Orleans could probably be finished in an afternoon, maybe 2 afternoons, give or take. Yeah, so let's do a close-up first. Let's turn on some lights to see what it looks like at nighttime. Looks pretty nice. Might have to add some lights here. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next Disneyland episode. Some more stuff will be added to the park. We'll see where I go. But thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.